I'm going to call the Board of Supervisors to order. Mr. Hone, may I have a roll call?
Good morning, Supervisor Jomey. Here. Supervisor White. Here. Supervisor Horton. Here. Supervisor Schutte.
Here.
Mayor Bagwell.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Nick. You want to come and give us the invocation, please?
Good morning. Let's pray together. God, thank you for this day and thank you for the opportunities that lie before us. Some we have planned and prepared for, and some are unknown. And so as our leadership of our community considers the known things, I pray, God, that you would give them wisdom and that you would give them clarity and that you would give them perspective on what is right and what is good. But also, God, I pray that you give them insight into those unknown things that come through and that you would help them to process those and to make fair and just decisions as we need. Give us this day all we need to accomplish your purposes, we pray. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for that. Ryan, would you do us the honor of leading us in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Okay, we're now on opening public comment, and the first one I have signed up is Rob Joyner. That's because you want to leave first. I know what the real truth is.
You know. Good morning, Madam Mayor, members of the board. Again, for the record, Rob Joyner, longtime city resident, former city employee, volunteer in the community. I've come forward this morning to lend my support to your agenda item 23A, appointment of Justice of the Peace. I had the pleasure of working back when I was with Community Development and later with the City Manager's Office, Melanie Bruchetta. And I can tell you both in the criminal side, civil side, her advice to staff and to those in the community that I witnessed was always spot on, free of emotion, just what needed to be done. And I can tell you it was a pleasure working with her. As I went on to other things, I always continued living in Carson City. There was a rumor out there, but I did go on to other employment. Staying here, I did witness Ms. Bruchetta going on to the HR department. And I'll tell you, that was an amazing transformation, seeing it from the outside and in, because there were a lot of things that needed to be done. And her commitment to the community over the last 30 years, family, volunteering, it's just been an amazing thing to witness. I think you saw that she is very well respected by her peers. And I mean her peers where she's been, but the peers at the level she would be with this appointment. So you have information on that. I've read through it. I think it's very impressive. And I'd here to say, if you have any questions of me or my experience with her, I'm always available to you. But I support Melanie Bruchetta for Justice of the Peace. I thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And then I have Ryan Russell. You don't have to sign that one. You're already on.
Okay, I didn't know. I see everybody coming up here signing.
too. Thank you. Morning.
Good morning, Mayor Bagwell, supervisors, staff, council. Nobody ever says hi to the attorney.
Well,
My name's Ryan Russell, and I stand before you this morning as a proud Carson City native and resident, here to talk to you about your appointment for our next Justice of the Peace. You have 4 candidates before you that all meet the qualifications for the position. I know 3 of them personally, and I can tell you that I have nothing bad to say about any of them. These candidates have shown that Carson City continues to produce well-qualified candidates that are willing to subject themselves to public scrutiny and possibly an election in order to serve our community, and that's commendable. That panel that is before you has deprived you of the ability to make a bad decision. And that's lucky, because you don't always have that opportunity. And so you're left today with the opportunity to make the best good decision. And in making that decision, I'm here to lend my support for Melanie Burketta. She has, well, I've known her throughout my career, and I've had respect for her that entire time. She has a wealth of criminal experience, civil experience, and administrative experience. And so often with this position, and trust me, I'm familiar with it, people focus on the idea that this is a criminal judge, when in fact the position, the caseload is approximately 51% civil. It's a very big mix. You have not only the misdemeanor crimes that the court hears, but small claims, landlord-tenant, civil matters with a dispute up to $15,000. There is a wide range, protective orders, of matters that come before this court that Melanie is uniquely qualified to sit in here. This position is also an administrator, responsible for budgets, employment, a department. Ms. Burketta has the experience in those areas as well, which makes her uniquely qualified to fill this position well. And I can tell you that this is the people's court we're talking about. And it's a position of impartiality and unbiased justice. It should be scrubbed of politics, because a judge should be the final bastion of fairness and humility from the bench. To honor the people's court, I believe that Melanie Burketta has the humility, the grace, and the experience to come and not only fill the position well, to serve us all well, but to do it in a way that honors the position itself and Carson City. So she has my absolute full support, and I hope today that you'll lend her yours as well. Thank you.
okay, I don't have anyone else signed up, but Ms. Lloyd, come on up. You do have to sign in.
I'll speak and then sign in. Sina Lloyd, Carson City resident and former Carson City Library employee. Thank you, supervisors. Nice to see you again. Such short timing here, but I'm here to speak on 23A as well, the appointment of Justice of the Peace. I'm here in support of the potential appointment of Melanie Burketta, of which I knew in my employment with the city, in her position as the department head over human resources. She was always very knowledgeable and provided sound guidance to myself and library leadership. And I believe that with her administrative experience, she will serve well in this role if you appoint her into this role. Thank you for your
Thank you,
time.
Ms. Lloyd. Do I have any other public comment? Any? Yeah, that's, thank you.
Mayor and board, thank you very much. Good morning. Walked in a little raindrop, but I was pleasantly greeted by a yapping of a crested jay, which aren't very usual around this particular area, and the first I've seen this year. So pleased to have been greeted with that. And I also want to bring up 8A and the restroom situation for Mills Park is suggested in there. And I was just amazed at how much a restroom costs nowadays. I actually bought a place and didn't get to keep it long due to a separation, but for $35,000, a whole home. And so a restroom today is going to cost me what I could probably buy several homes. Thank you very much. And I just think that as a state, we need to look to the federal government more for earnings and that we pay as citizens to come back to our local communities and cities and through Nevada's government. I would really like to recommend that we lobby to get a bigger piece of their pie. I think that as a capital, we really have extra duties and responsibilities, and I think that they should help us get through those and other tax-related suggestions might be brought in by the community, but mine are to unload some of the burden that we put upon ourselves because of the things that we like to have and use. Homeowners are really paying a great deal and look towards paying more. And I'm not saying it's not worth it to be here, but it means that I don't have that pocket change to spend in the community, which is something I'd like to do. I'd like to be involved more with supporting fine companies and businesses of this location and of this state. So please put more money back in my pocket. The triple digit heating bill I just got, it's even less than the last one, and it still had my jaw drop. And I'm going, I've got enough of a waddle, I've got space, but the deal is that it's painful, and we're not fixing that yet. And I'm hoping, community, please, you've got ideas and thoughts, please let people know. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do I have any other public comment? Come on up, Chuck. Good morning.
Madam Mayor, Board of Supervisors, for those of you that don't remember me, I'm Chuck Odgers, I'm your public defender. We just finished 7 months of work. I'd like to thank the board, I'd like to thank Jason and his crew, but I want you to understand what we've accomplished in the 7 months since you opened our office. We've opened up a little over 1,700 cases, including 15 Category A or high Category B felonies. Those are rapes, cases involving high-level trafficking of drugs. Now, the numbers I'm giving you, the DA's office has about a third more because some of those people are going to be hired private counsel. Some of them are going to have conflict counsel. We've done 532 gross misdemeanors through Category B felonies, less than 10 years in prison. We've done 75 civil, that's 432B, juvenile-related type stuff, involuntary commitments. We've done 100 juvenile delinquencies. These are what we've opened. We've opened 35 juvenile probation violations. We've opened 590 misdemeanor cases, not including DUIs and domestic violences. We've opened 210 DUIs and domestic violences. We've opened 57 parole and probation violation cases, and we've opened 253 specialty court cases. Those are mental health court, juvenile mental health court, juvenile drug court, Western Regional Drug Court, and the misdemeanor treatment court. On the flip side, we've managed to close 5 Category A's and high B's. Now, some of those closures may have been the cases that we brought over when we opened the office, and those would have been cases that I take care of myself. Nobody else in my office does that. The Category B's through gross misdemeanors, we've closed 212. We've closed 35 involuntary commitments and 432B's and other civil-related that we have to cover by statute. We've closed 61 juvenile defendants cases. That means our juveniles are no longer under probation. We've closed 16 probation violations for juveniles. We've closed 306 misdemeanor cases. And when I say cases, you can have multiple charges, and I'm just talking about these are the number of defendants that we've dealt with. In addition to that, we've closed 103 DUIs and domestic violences, 33 parole violations, and we've had 13 people graduate from specialty court. This is your office. We're representing your constituency. So we want to thank you, let you know what we're doing, and I'm available at any time if you have questions. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. He did. I think he practiced. Okay. Do I have anyone else? Okay. We're going to then close the public comment period, and we're going to move on to approval of our minutes of January 4th. Does any member have any changes? Not seeing none. Supervisor Giomi, a motion, please.
I move to approve the Carson City Board of Supervisors and the Carson City Redevelopment Authority meeting minutes from the 4th of January, 2024 as presented.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you. We're now on to consent. No one indicated they needed a pull, so Supervisor Giomi, a motion, please.
Move to approve the consent agenda consisting of items 7A, 7B, 8A, and 8B, and 9A, all as presented.
I have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Okay, we're now on to agenda item 11A. This is a contract with Core West for our CMAR for the new fire station. Let's just start. Do we have any questions? Anybody? We're just happy it's going to happen finally, huh? We better hurry up before it gets more expensive. Supervisor Giomi.
Can I just make a comment? I just, in 2000, the city commissioned a study that said we need a new fire station. That was 23 years ago. And so I'm excited, very excited, to have this agenda item and finally get going down the path of adding that fourth fire station. It'll drastically improve response and the safety of this community. So kudos to the city staff who worked on it, the core team, and let's hit shovels in the ground.
I like that. Supervisor White?
Thank you. I'm too pretty happy to see that we're getting ready to put some shovels in the ground. I'm a little bit dismayed at this runaway inflation that we're having to deal with. We have an agenda item coming a little bit later here today talking about augmenting the budget. I would encourage this body and all departments around to keep an eye on that budget so that we can refill the what's termed value engineering. In other words, stuff we've had to cut out of this facility. If you look on page 158, it's titled Approved Value Engineering. There are 19 items that have been cut out of this facility. I would encourage everybody to sharpen those pencils and let's get most of this stuff put back in. I'm not looking for Taj Mahal, not looking for oak cabinets when IKEA cabinets are sufficient, but I think we really need to fund things like the generator. It makes no sense to me that we would build an emergency operations center that does not have a backup generator. We got to figure out how to fund this thing properly. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? Any?
I left it on green maybe for a reason. Board Supervisors, Denny French, ditto. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, Supervisor Giomi, I'll give you the privilege of a 23-year motion. No, go ahead.
I move to award, number one, the contract, I move to, one, award the contract as presented and authorize the Public Works Director to approve expenditures of the contingency if necessary. And two, approve an additional allocation of $500,000 from the city's ambulance fund for this project.
I have it.
And I will second that second.
Second. You get to do that with your vote here. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimously seconded, firsted, and all that. Good job. Thank you all, and we can't wait to have a ribbon cutting. Okay, we're now on to agenda item 12A, discussion and possible action regarding our historic resources Commission's annual report. Good morning, Heather. And Mr. Drews, how are you?
Morning, Madam Mayor, Supervisors. With Heather's permission, I'd like to present the 2023 Historic Resources Commission Annual Report. Last year, we received 27 applications for improvements in the Historic District. 15 of those were approved administratively. The remainder, I think we approved through our meetings. We had 2 open space tax deferrals, and none of our decisions were appealed to the board. Our Historic Preservation Award last year was given to the late Dr. Gregory Hayes, one of our commission members who passed, and I know you guys know the feeling of losing a good commission member. Sherry Cimarusti was the winner of our annual scavenger hunt. We had 15 correct answers to the hunt, at least 21 submissions. A lot of people would just go online, grab the paperwork, and walk the trail themselves. But 21 entries were sent to community development. We have our annual Historic Preservation Fund grant program. This year we haven't made any, last year we made no applications to that. I was just talking to Heather about some upcoming submissions maybe for this year that would dovetail with the master plan amendment. So that's where we are. We're continuing to meet every other month, and we're down I think the previous year we had about 40 applications. So last year we were down a bit, and the administrative approvals have really streamlined the process. I think the residents in the district like it because it's just fill out an application, get it signed, and as long as you're meeting our standards, it's pretty simple. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
No, I just want to make a comment of how much the community tells me they enjoy the scavenger hunt, that it just reminds everyone who we are, and that we can still do those kind of things and really enjoy our community and figuring that out. So I just really want to thank you. I know it's work, right, to figure out what are we gonna put in this year after year, but I want to thank you for continuing to care about your community and keeping it its rich history. And so kudos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And our next meeting in March, we'll be discussing the theme for next year's scavenger hunt. So if anyone has any ideas, let community development know.
I might have one for you. Might fit with my ornament. I might really have one. Anybody else? But I don't want to give it away, right? Supervisor Horton. You ready?
To accept the annual report. And Mike, thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you, Curtis.
Let me just double check really quick. Do I have any public comment? And then I'll take the motion.
I'm sorry, this is just an advisory. I'm having trouble hearing this side of the panel or the board. So if everybody could get a little closer to the mic perhaps, and for my sake, I appreciate it, and I apologize. I'd sit closer, but it's not allowed. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it's unanimous. And again, please thank your whole team,
Yes, thank you.
right? Really, really appreciate it. Okay, we are now on to agenda item 13A, discussion and possible action regarding recommendations of the Carson City Audit Committee to approve the completed remediation plans. I'll make my standard disclosure on this one. NRS 281A 420 requires me to disclose conflicts of interest and abstain from voting when I have a disqualifying conflict. My son is a partner at Eide Bailey. I previously abstained from voting on the award of contracts to Eide Bailey as the city's internal auditor due to my familial relationship. In this item, however, the contract has already been awarded. My son does not have any direct involvement in this audit, and the items before us now only involve procedural action of considering the audit committee's recommendations for the closure where remediation was validated by Eide Bailey. While I make this disclosure in the interest of full transparency, abstention is required only in clear cases, and these matters are routine functions. The judgment of a reasonable person in my position would not be materially affected, so I do not have a disqualifying conflict and will be voting. Ms. Russell, thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. Sherry Russell Benaboo for the record, CFO. So this item, this is just from our January meeting, so I'm now caught up with the
You're
audit
catching up?
committee findings. Yes. So these last two findings here I'm asking to close. One is on the grants. It's item number 1, but it's Roman numeral number 1 and 2. So there were 7 Roman numerals on that finding. Again, just the way the internal auditor did their findings. But on that one, they both have to do with our tracking report for all of our grants. And it's a Excel spreadsheet. And so what we're going to do is what we have done is make that available on Teams. And so all of the grants administrators, program managers, everybody citywide knows where that spreadsheet is, so they can go on, update new grant information, and then my grants administrator in my office will go through quarterly and make sure they are updating it. So if they're not, we can reach out and say, hey, we need this updated. And then annually, we of course do the CFA, so then we'll also make sure that it's complete. So hopefully with all of that, finding number 1 and 2 can be closed. And next time the auditors come in, they will be happy with our spreadsheets. The other one is on the clerk's office. It's item number 3, 5, and 7. So item number 3 was internal. This is making sure the landmark user access is up to date. And so that has been done. And then it looks like Scott is going to do that quarterly at his office, make sure that it's, users are accurate. And then the firewall and the data loss prevention. The data loss prevention was actually closed 9/6, but the meeting we were at was 9/5, so we held off in closing it until it was done. And then the firewall is currently active and scheduled on a quarterly basis to be tested.
Does any member have a question? I don't see any on these. I will say that I had an opportunity to look at the audit spreadsheets and stuff in Teams, and just let your group and everyone that worked on that know, well done. I think it will really meet the intent of what the auditors were after, not necessarily the full extent of buying another computer system or anything else to track. But
Right.
I think that certainly having the grants on one spreadsheet and that everyone can be looking at it, and hopefully what one person doesn't see, someone else has the opportunity to go, wait,
Yeah.
let's
They're
get this
just-
updated,
yeah.
or something doesn't look right. So I think having that master spreadsheet was a great idea, and just let your staff and the whole city team that works on grants, because I know that's also more than one person,
Oh, yeah.
right? And it takes
Definitely a
everybody
coordinated
to actually
effort.
make that work, because you have different departments doing different things. And
Yeah.
so making this into a master spreadsheet, I think, was also efficient to be able to have a wise use of our dollars. Here's one, you need to accomplish something, but we really don't want to buy another computer system. And so I just wanted to say, I think that was a great remediation and choice to be able to meet that audit.
Thank you.
So,
I'll
well
let
done.
Rebecca know.
Well done. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, Supervisor Schutte, a motion, please.
I move to approve the audit committee's recommendation as presented.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. We're now on to agenda item 13B, This is discussion and possible action to approve on second reading Bill number 102, a proposed ordinance for our general obligation park tax bonds for $5 million that we're planning on using at John D. Winter Centennial Park Complex. Mr. Hohen, may I have the title, please?
Ordinance 2024-1, Bill number 102. An ordinance of the Board of Supervisors of Carson City, Nevada, authorizing the issuance of its Carson City, Nevada general obligation limited tax park bonds, additionally secured by pledged revenues, Series 2024, for the purpose of financing certain recreational facilities as set forth in NRS 244A.597, including but not limited to improvements at the John D. Winter Centennial Park Complex, providing the form, terms, and conditions of the bonds, and the general tax proceeds and the revenues pledged for the payment of such bonds, ratifying action previously taken toward issuing the proposal bonds, providing other matters relating thereto, and providing the effective date hereof.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Benaboo, have we received any other public comment or concerns or issues since first reading?
No, there's been no changes.
Okay. Does any member have a question? No? Is there any public comment on this item?
Mayor, Board, thank you. Denny French, Carson City. I have and will be sort of redundant on this, but I really am concerned about artificial turf, and any improvements that we make in activity fields should be very, very well investigated, and I appreciate it. This is a lot of money. Hopefully it will go to support of the youth. I was very active in sports before I wasn't, and I really appreciated a good field, but I'd always played on natural sod and prefer it actually to what's out there now, even with the preparations and the care that it took. Worked at a golf course, so I'm aware of fungicides, pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers and the mix. And they didn't treat me well. I had to leave that particular type of job because of the exposure issue for myself health-wise. And so I'm very sensitive to those considerations for myself, and because of early childhood development education background and brain development studies and such, I really think that we're looking at a real pit of uh-ohs. Then I don't want to have those uh-ohs fall on our youth and or our community in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. No other public comment? Okay. Supervisor White, a motion, please.
I move to adopt on second reading, Bill number 102, ordinance number 204-1.
2-4.
2024, sorry.
We knew we heard you. There you go. Okay. I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you so much, and let's do some great things at Centennial.
Yeah.
Okay, we are now ready for agenda item 13C, discussion and possible action regarding a resolution for the augmentation of an amendment of the 23-24 budget in the amount of $181,061,456. Sure sounds like a lot. Too bad it's not all unencumbered money. What a bummer.
It does sound
That
like a
would have been a
lot.
joy.
It
We
does
would have
sound
been
like
able
a
to do
lot.
what Supervisor White wanted earlier. Anyway, it's a
Yeah.
number, and it's probably hard for the public to understand
I
that.
do think we're going to siphon some of that out of here, though.
There you go. It may work out. Ms.
Well, we
Vanaboo,
also
is
have
there
a
any
lot of-
highlights?
We
that
have a
you would-
lot of big projects in the works as well.
Yeah,
so.
we do.
We
Is there
do.
any-
So, yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to highlight for us?
I have a whole thing to go through unless you just want to ask questions. We can do it that way too.
I think that really that you don't need to go through the whole listing. Let's go
Okay.
to questions if there's things specifically. So for me, I would like to talk about not for this augmentation, but it shows us. And one of the things that's on there is we have not determined, if you look at the bottom of the sheet, there's the 300,000 we've been reserving for Brown Street. And so I think we need to have a discussion so that Mrs. Benaboo will know what to do with those dollars. We had reserved that from the sale of Brown Street and said we were gonna put it back into housing. But I personally think we've done a great job with the flats on Bud-Eye Way and things, and those facilities are open up and being leased. So potentially we can have her, we can talk about that 300,000 for her next augmentation where we'd like that to go. So I just want to throw that idea out there as to, do we want to reserve it, have her put it to the fire department, to any other cost overruns, roads, so I see that 300,000 as an opportunity for us to have some discussions to talk about where we like that to go. Supervisor Schutte.
I think in light of recent conversations and meetings concerning roads, I think it's either roads or the fire station would be appropriate, and I would like to see that money go to either or.
Okay. Supervisor Giomi.
Yeah, as long as we're talking about that, perhaps we reach a point where we can look at that undedicated ARPA funds at the same time and just let's, get them at least encumbered. And I agree. I think picking up those things that got cut out of the fire station, the generator especially is, I agree with Supervisor White, a real head scratcher. It really needs to be there. So I think in a future agenda item where we kind of discuss and commit those funds, it's a good idea.
Okay. Supervisor Horton.
I agree that we need to look at that generator as a serious issue and
Which was
take care of that. And that any funds beyond what it would take to clean that up should go to streets.
Like that idea too. So we're giving notes to Sherry now so we can bring an agenda item. That's great.
So.
Yeah, and I'll double check. I had heard something about a possible grant.
For the generator, that's ringing my bell too, so.
So,
Oh, maybe-
So staff has already set their priorities for what to add back in to the fire station. They have a lot of balls in the air at this point. So my actual suggestion would be if we put this money, I'd like to see the ARPA money and at least most of this go into a fund that can do added alternatives back in. So as the project goes through, once everything settles down and they have a clear path of where they're going, then we can designate what that money actually gets spent on, rather than us having that priority. Let the fire department and Public Works figure out what the real priority is. I don't know how the generator wouldn't be the first, but anyway, that's what I would suggest.
Okay. Just,
well,
yeah.
and if we have a grant too, we can bring it back with that understanding that we're
Right.
taking care of that, so.
I think the key you're hearing is just, let's leave the agenda item open enough so that we can work together as a team to whittle it down.
Right, because one of the other things,
Well, I think what I'm getting to, and hopefully I'm hearing that we're all on the same page here, that our priorities are the fire station and roads. And I think that, we don't have the ARPA, well, ARPA's in here too for augmentations, but just that we're setting the stage of the excess money from ARPA and this 300 from Brown Street, that we're looking to solve fire station and roads.
right,
And I think that's broad enough right now, and then we can get into finer detail, but it will give her direction on how to legally account for the money.
and
Where's
let's
the
be,
money? Yeah.
let's be clear, the amount of money that fire station needs, the generator's 211,000. the security system that was stripped out was over 300,000. So we could burn through this pretty quick.
Yeah, we could. So just in general, I think that's enough for you to know where to bring back some agenda items, and staff can work on the priorities and.
It is, it is. And I know this is a big dollar amount, but just for the public, we do this every year. It's unspent dollars from the prior year. There are projects that are currently going on or actually might have been finished in the first half of '24, so we have to add these budget dollars back into '24.
Yeah, so what she's getting at is construction projects often take more than a year to accomplish, right?
Yes.
So they straddle 2 fiscal years. And so, like I said, please don't think this is miraculous new money.
And,
Yeah.
and again, with the runaway inflation that I mentioned earlier, I'm involved in a roof project that in 9 months, that dollar sign went from $1 million to 2.4 in 9 months.
It's crushing us on all our projects.
I mean, that's
So,
what
listen,
the federal money we received is paid for as inflation.
This
Yeah.
is likely not the golden goose.
Yeah.
So does anybody else have anything they wanted to just specifically bring up? Is there any public comment on our augmentation? Denny?
Thank you, Mayor. Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. Thank you, Board. One of the things I didn't find on the list, and it could be that I'm just a little bit off-site here, but that there wasn't anything about the juvenile retention situation. And I know years ago.
Juvenile detention?
Detention,
Okay.
yes.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to call it detention because it
That's
sort
okay.
of sounds like a bad deal when it really is a very positive aspect of our community. We've got people sheltered until they can get their lives figured out, so a lot of great people involved. It's not on here, and I hadn't figured that out, so I didn't get a chance
It's
to
because we
ask.
didn't have money allocated to it. So this is just projects that were already approved in our '23 budget
Right.
with dollars, and then move the balance of the dollars forward. So the juvenile facility,
Was not in.
right,
Well,
we don't have the inflationary money to do that one yet.
Right, but I wanted to keep it on the radar. Thank you very much.
And hopefully
Oh,
it
it
won't
is.
take 23 years like the fire station.
Right.
We're trying to shorten that one, but thank you. Okay, seeing no others. Supervisor White, a motion?
Thank you. I move to adopt resolution number 2024-R-1.
Second.
What was, oh, yes, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. I'll let the record reflect it was unanimous. Okay, we're now going to recess as the Board of Supervisors, and I'm going to call us to order as the Redevelopment Authority. May I have a roll call, please?
Person Bagwell,
Here?
Vice Chair Giomi, Member Horton, Member Shooty,
Here.
Member White. You have a quorum.
So much. Now is the time. Is there any public comment on the Redevelopment Authority? Seeing none, we're going to move on to approval of the minutes of January 4th.
Which I did,
What?
which I did.
You did at the very
I
beginning.
did at the beginning.
What?
I approved the minutes for both,
Oh, and technically, yeah, but it's on the agenda. See that?
but it was done.
We don't have to take a separate motion in reality, right, as the Redevelopment Authority? We always have before, but
Technically, I would prefer if you would, because technically you weren't the redevelopment authority when, at the earlier motion.
Okay, this is a lot of effort, but I'll do it. I move to approve the meeting minutes of the Carson City Redevelopment Authority for January 4th, 2024 as presented.
I second.
Man, what a lift.
all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Well, I guess when you look at some of the other ones, like the Board of Health, there's a couple other members. It's not an exact duplicate board. So that would be interesting if we approved it at the board level and the Board of Health, somebody else made a correction. I know what we would do. Okay, we're now on to agenda item 19A, discussion and possible action regarding a resolution to augment and amend the redevelopment authority budget in the amount of $3,760,443. Please note that we are taking action based on the late material provided. Does anyone have any questions of Mrs. Vandenboo? No. Is there any public comment on this item? I will accept a motion. Supervisor Giomi?
I move to adopt resolution number 2024-RA-R-1.
I second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you.
I prepared way too much for those two items. Thank you so much.
Well,
That went nice.
Based on your email, took me about an hour and a half to digest. I will thank you for that long email and the
No problem.
tutorial that you drugged me through.
Well, it's not, augmentations are not easy.
Yeah, we'll work harder. Okay. Is there any final public comment for the redevelopment authority? No? Okay. Then what we're going to do is adjourn as the redevelopment authority. We will reconvene as the Board of Supervisors at our times. Well, actually, what I'd like to do is I'm going to move agenda item 24 up so we can go ahead and deal if there's any announcements, city manager updates. Do we have anything, Ms. Paulson?
Just that for the next meeting, Sherry will be bringing forward the budget assumptions. So it's the official kickoff of the fiscal year 25 budget.
Feels like it, huh? Okay. Does anybody have anything to share with one another?
Sure, I do. I attended the Knott's fundraiser last week, the Night Off the Street, and great event, a lot of support. And so just kudos to that team, as well as the fish ribbon cutting. That was super exciting. Good works on behalf of the community and amazing opportunities. I met with a concerned citizen at the library, he has some wonderful ideas about lighting walkways, some concerns that he shared that I will be presenting at some point as I do a little bit more research on that. But
Ms. Hicks?
Thank you. For the record, Stephanie Hicks, Deputy City Manager. I just wanted to advise the board that we are going to be kicking off our biennial charter review committee. That will commence with a public online survey that is going to go live, I believe, today. We'll have 2 weeks out there for the public to provide us any recommendations that they may have, and then we will start meeting with our review committee.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, that's all right, then we'll be done with that item. So then I will let you know we will be going into closed session here shortly, just so don't run away. So with that, we'll be in recess. Ooh, not adjourned, recessed. Thanks.